All right, so welcome to another episode of On the Mic with Ed. You're here with myself, Maria Ortiz, and co-host Dr. Zoe Ross Nash. We also have Lexi Graber with us today. And this episode is titled On the Mic in the Spotlight because of Lexi's history as an incredible athlete and also her presence on social media today. So we are very grateful to have her with us today and hear her voice. Some accolades that I'd like to share about Lexi since she is incredibly modest. But Lexi Graber is an NCAA floor champion. So that is a national champion. Huge accomplishment, kind of the best you could go for in college gymnastics. She's also an SEC beam champion and a six-time All-American gymnast. So, like I said, truly an incredible athlete, incredible human. We're very grateful to have her here. So I will let Dr. Zoe thank our advertisers, and then we'll hear a little bit more from Lex.
Yeah, Lex, again, we are just so grateful to have you here. Your history is just going to be so impactful to so many viewers. But to give a special shout out to our advertisers, we want to thank Alsana. Alsana is an eating disorder treatment center that has in-person options in Alabama and California, and then virtual IOP options specifically for teens all around the country. So if you're looking for some services, Alsana would be a wonderful resource.
Hey, well, thank you guys for having me, and for the wonderful intro. I'm like, thank you guys so much. It means a lot. But yeah, hey, I'm Lexi. I was on the gymnastics team here at the University of Alabama for 5 years. I was able to get a COVID year and come back and experience the craziness that is NIL in my last year on the team. And that leads me to where I am now. I now work in NIL at the University of Alabama. Sort of somewhat a manager for all student athletes at the university, just representing them, bridging that gap between brands and the athletes. And yeah, just kind of living life at the same time. So yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And Lex, can you explain to some listeners that might not know what this is? What is NIL exactly?
Yes, NIL is name, image, and likeness. And this past, I believe in July of 2021, before that, athletes were not able to capitalize on any endorsements or anything of that sort, receive payment for any media appearances or anything like that. They actually couldn't even do any of that before NIL. And so now that that has passed, students are able to, if they have a big following on social media, they can profit from that and accept that money, while also maintaining college eligibility.
Wow, that is incredible work that you're doing because I imagine that some of those brand deals might be exploitative and you are taking care of those athletes who are 18 to 22, like don't know what they're doing, and you're taking good care of them to ensure that their skill set is getting rewarded and paid in the way that they deserve.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And, I think when it first started, obviously there were no resources. It was genuinely the Wild West, is what we call it here. I mean, we still call it that even with resources, but I mean, they just threw athletes out into this world of, hey, you can make money, go have fun. Good luck though, because we're not here to help you. And so it's really rewarding to be in the position that I am now. And that's why I took this job is, to come back and be that resource just because I am so protective of the student athlete experience, just because I had such an amazing one. Obviously ups and downs, but I'm super protective of that and want to, allow others to have that experience too. So if I can be a resource and help in this addition of NIL, that is another responsibility for student athletes to take on. It's a lot of pressure. You're in the spotlight all the time, and that's even more prominent now with NIL. So, to come back and be in the position I am to help them just take that off their plate, is really incredible.
No, it's awesome. And it's great that you have also lived this, even though you kind of didn't get to experience all the NIL opportunities that you probably could have done great with. It's awesome that you truly have been that student athlete, and you understand some of those nuances that they might be facing. And even if that wasn't monetized back when you're in there, you could understand how that could get a little bit tricky without guidance.
For sure. I mean, just understanding the position they are in, and again, all of the pressures that they are under already. It's quite immense as a student athlete. I think we're, just a little underrated in that sense of how much we do take on. And so, yeah, just being able to be in a space also where I get to be that understood person. I think people who work in sports, it's not as common for them to have been a student athlete themselves at such a high level as well, and understand what comes with that truly. So I'm really blessed to be in this position, and our athletes are great, but again, it is a lot for sure. So I give them all the props.
Yeah, I really appreciate the language you used a couple moments ago about being in the spotlight and it being an added responsibility. And it really is. When you have a platform of stuff or of sorts, it's a responsibility. So how, in your personal experience, like how do you think that being a well-known gymnast really did impact your identity and having that huge responsibility?
I mean, while I was here, I think I was a little naive. I didn't understand quite the impact I really did make. And now, I mean, hindsight 2020, looking back, it shaped me in a lot of ways I didn't even understand. And so looking back, I mean, it was a lot. I feel like every time I went out there, you know, you couldn't mess up, or even when you hang out with your friends and go out to a place, you can't mess up because people do recognize you, and that's something not a lot of people around a college campus do understand. So I think I camouflaged really well, but there was a lot of things that I didn't realize I was doing until I was out of it. So yeah, I think it really just put a lot of pressure on me and just made me, I think as gymnasts, we are perfectionists already, but it kind of amplified that being in the spotlight because, you know, you're not just performing when you're out on the balance beam, you're also performing every social media post, every time you go out to eat, every time you go out with your friends, you're performing. You can't mess up. And so it amplifies that. And being a gymnast, a perfectionist already, it causes a lot of, you know, anxieties and pressure and things like that that are just crazy to experience for sure.
And I think you have a unique experience too, because you were a very well-known athlete, right? So I was a D1 gymnast myself. However, not selling myself short here, but Lexi Graber was an incredible name in the sport of gymnastics. So many young girls knew who Lexi Graber was, wanted to be Lexi Graber on beam or those sort of things. I can't really imagine that amount of pressure. And even as a student athlete myself, I felt pressure and nobody was really particularly logging on to watch Maria Ortiz, right? And I felt that, so I tried to put
Sell
myself in the
yourself short,
shoes.
girl.
So you
Sell
were
yourself
logging
short,
on.
girl. I had to cut you off because she was amazing, y'all. She was literally so incredible. I looked
I,
up to her, literally.
I
Anyways.
saw some of her tapes recently, like incredible.
I know. I know. She
Well,
was legendary. When I came over to that gym, I was like, I used to compete against her as a kid. And whenever we would go to competitions, my mom would be like, Maria Ortiz is there. I was like, oh, I got to do good. Do real good. Anyways.
well,
Yeah.
that is so nice. And my mom said the same thing. She'd be like, Lexi Graber from that gym is here. So like you better pay attention. But it's really cool. I think we got the fun part of competitiveness out of one another. But kind of, regardless of that, you knew that little girls were coming to that meet wanting to be Lexi Graber someday. How did that shape like your overall sense of identity? Because so many girls wanted to be you as a gymnast. Were you able to get in touch with who you were outside of sport, or how did that go for you?
Definitely not. And I love that you asked that because I don't think this is talked about enough. I think people speak on it and say, hey, you know, they encourage you and tell you that gymnastics isn't your identity. And so you hear that and you know that, but like you don't really identify what else you are. There's not a lot of space for it. Everyone tells you this is why you're amazing. Everyone is encouraging you and giving you praise based on that. And everything else is like, okay, yeah, we know you as a person too, and these are all great, but it's it's honestly based off of the fact that you are amazing at what you do. And that twists people's view of you in a positive way. It's not a bad thing, of course, but I think internally that's a battle I had to face a lot and still am post college is I don't like anything. You know what I mean? Like, what do I genuinely fill my time with? And you know, you try hobbies and you try things like that, but genuinely my identity is gymnastics. And I think after graduation, I thought, you know, we're going to be okay. You know, it's coming. I think a lot of people say that, well, you knew it was going to happen. You knew you were graduating. You knew it was going to come to an end. I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks. I did know that, but I didn't realize I felt that this was my identity. I didn't even know that. So that was really eye opening, I think, upon graduation, just looking back and saying, okay, yeah, I knew I loved my friends and I was a fun person and I was adventurous. I knew these things about myself, but not how they blended into my life and made me happy. And so that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize. It's like, yeah, people are telling you, but I don't really know what that means. Yeah, I'm not just a gymnast, but what else am I? It's hard to identify for sure when so much of your time is consumed by practice. And I mean, you wake up every day thinking about it. That's what you make all of your decisions based upon. So, what do you mean? So, yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Thank you so much for just sharing your experience with that. As you were talking, I empathize with that. I did ballet all growing up and through college, and like my dance teacher growing up would say, "Ballet is your boyfriend." I'm like, I didn't know how to date. I didn't know how to interact with like people. I didn't like other than dance. That was all I knew how to talk about. And when your identity is so intertwined with one thing, any threat to that, big or small, feels catastrophic and so
Oh my gosh,
scary
yeah.
because it's like, who am I without this?
Yeah.
So I'm just like imagining being at the level that you were, where you're televised, you're on TV, you're facing such opportunity of scrutiny. When people made comments, how did you handle that?
I mean, it definitely was not always easy. A lot of the things are positive, but you really don't recognize the positive. You most of the time only recognize the negative. And I think again, going back to who you are as an athlete is I was a perfectionist and I always wanted to be better. And so I always would kind of take comments and be like, okay, well, how can I do better? And as great as that can be, I think I do that to a fault for sure. And I think it can be very detrimental because as much as you always want to be 1% better every day, it's like, okay, now you're actually just taking away from the assets that you do have. And so I think handling it, I just leaned into my team and my friends. But again, not everybody's on the same playing field. Not everybody is living in the same way or seeing the same things. I'm seeing these things that are like I mean, I probably experienced an entirely opposite experience from most people in college gymnastics, but it's like everyone would just say I'm like too tiny or like too small and what do you mean? I don't know what that means. So I would have so much pressure in my mind, like, oh, I need to change. I need to get bigger. I need to put on more muscle, or I need to do these things. So it really changed how I viewed myself and how my actual strengths were being turned into negatives and how that distorted in my mind.
Wow, it's like the overall comments on performance, but then also the comments on body. So obviously being on the mic with Ed episode, you knew that kind of had to come up. Talk to us a little bit more about those pressures, knowing that your body is also being televised alongside your talent.
Yeah, I'm and going along with the last part, I think people kind of connect the two. And that's at least what I experienced is if I wasn't performing, it's because I wasn't eating, or if I was hurt, it's because I didn't weigh enough and my body was feeble. And it's like everything came back to, how I'm fueling myself. Whole time I never experienced that until I got to college. I didn't understand that. I always just fueled how I needed to and was just going about life, to be so honest. So now I'm coming into college, trying to adjust to this crazy schedule that we're put on. And I think there were a lot of times where, yeah, it just performance equaled either how you looked or how you felt based off of what you ate. So I don't think a lot of people realize how those two actually do connect.
I kind of almost just want to like take a second. That was like a really powerful thing that you just said there, like how you perform, and how you feel. It's like it also has to do with what you ate. And, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is how this drive for perfectionism and drive for success influenced your relationship with food. And I'm hearing that even other people were drawing conclusions about your own food too. So I was going to ask, how did this influence your relationship there? But other people were already stating this is how her food intake is influencing her body and her
Mhm.
performance.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I'd never really heard that before. So getting here, and then it was just another added pressure. So now I'm thinking, oh, I have to eat or I'm not going to do good at practice today. I have to eat. I have to eat. And like, obviously we have to eat as human beings. That's not a bad thing to think. But when I was consumed by it. Like if I don't eat breakfast, and then I couldn't eat. My appetite, I think my body reacts to anxiety in that way. Like I lose my appetite. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And that was me. And I didn't understand that though. I'd never had my body react to anything like that. Or at least that I was aware of. And so I was like, why am I not eating? I got to a point where I just smelled food and I was like, I don't even want to, like, okay, I know I want to eat it, but I can't. And it was literally my body just rejecting that anxiety and that pressure that I'm putting on myself. Like I have to eat X amount of calories a day. And it's opposite in probably what most people experience of I can't eat more than this. It's like I have to meet this number and I could never. And so that was like really frustrating because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I want to eat, I promise. I just can't. And so I ended up my sophomore year, I ended up losing like 12 pounds that I did not have to lose. I mean, I was below 100 pounds. It was scary, but I didn't realize it. Again, I was just like trying to eat. So, um, yeah, it was just like a new world and a new pressure that I had never even experienced before. So, yeah, it was interesting for sure.
And like going back to that spotlight, you were getting comments from the peanut gallery about your body, about what you looked, and those comments almost like created the narrative because you were so
Sure.
stressed. You were so like anxiety ridden about your appearance, and then your body reacted to that and it impacted your appetite, which is so common. So it created what people were talking about. And it makes me think of like Ariana Grande right now, who's obviously huge in
Ugh,
this, right? And people are making all of these comments about her body, whether or not she does or doesn't have an eating disorder. And it's like, no one should be talking about that unless they're their provider. Period. We should,
100%.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm so mad.
No, 100%. Because, yeah. And obviously, us sitting in this room that do understand that, you just get so frustrated because you have no idea what she's even going through either. You have no idea. Even if she does have an eating disorder or struggling in that way, like you're not to speak on that. Let her handle that how she needs to handle that. And so, yeah, oh my gosh, when I see those comments, it's just, oh, I'm so sick. So sick. It makes me like, I'm like, oh gosh, I can't post now because they're gonna call me too tiny too. So yeah, no, it's terrible.
There's a couple of things I want to comment on about that. One, I noticed myself almost going to like cut you off when you said the weight loss. And that comes down to like the eating disorder therapist in me. And I'm actually glad I kind of stopped because I was like, this is like actually, she has not been able to share her story. Everybody has talked about her. And here I am being like, don't say it like that. So I'm actually just really glad that you're able to eloquently share and people are able to tolerate things. Life comes with triggers, right? And I think it is important to hear that that was a part of your story that actually these triggers triggered you to become underweight. I also love that you're bringing up the potential of not being able to eat enough. So often in the eating disorder space and in the gymnastic space and the ballet space is talking about how people need to limit their intake and how you need to be able to eat under this. And I think you bring up a really excellent point that for some people, actually meeting a nutritional need is a challenge. And for you, again, whether that was a real challenge or not, it wasn't up to other people to comment. And you actually just triggered a memory for me. I actually remember we had just spoken maybe recently, and I think I saw on like Twitter something about like Lexi Graber not being in a good spot or something. I was like, oh my gosh, did something like happen? I think I reached out and you were like, what? And I sent you a screenshot. You're like, oh girl, that stuff like pops up. I don't know what that is. But I thought that that said so much because I was like, wait a minute, that's my friend. I just talked to her. But the world had made that assumption, and I had completely forgotten that until you brought this up.
It's crazy how that I mean, I truly do. I know I have people around me like yourself and so many great people around me that know who I am. And so when things like that do happen, I kind of just take it on the chin. Is it great? No, but I know who I am now. I think it took a long time to get this way and kind of brush those kinds of things off. It's like training yourself genuinely, mental retraining. But it's so not easy because everyone's creating your narrative for you, or they're creating a narrative of, yeah, you have a story, but your story doesn't match this story, and this one makes more sense. Like this makes more sense. This is the right way to view this topic. And I'm like, okay, but I genuinely, I'm struggling too. But it just doesn't look the same. It's kind of the same word, different font. So yeah, it's like there's just narratives created. So it's hard to go against that for sure.
Oh gosh. And how damaging. So what what was your transition like from gymnast to influencer? And did you get any support? Like what? That's got to be a huge shift in your entire lifestyle.
So I've been out of college for 3 years now. And I think I had built such a following in gymnastics. And again, that was my identity. That's what people followed me for, was my gymnastics posts. And so right after I graduated and all that kind of wore off, I wasn't posting gymnastics photos. I wasn't getting any likes, no comments. It was the opposite. It's like, okay, I'm fulfilled with, or my comments are filled with all these like a mix of positive and negative stuff. But in that state of life, you're like, oh, I just wish I didn't have this platform. And then you graduate. And then I'm like, gosh, now I have this platform, but no one cares about me. No one cares about me as a human. I'm posting with my friends or I'm posting what I did in my life and no one cares. Like, what do I do with that? So it was a really hard transition. Guys, I'm so sorry. I forgot my computer charger. Can I go grab it?
Yeah, we'll pause it. So, like, what was the transition like from gymnast to getting this platform that you probably never planned for to influencer? And did you get any support around that?
Yeah, I think when I was in gymnastics and I was in college, that's where all of my following came from. Everyone was following me because of my gymnastics videos, my gymnastics content. And again, at the time, I didn't realize that's why people were following me. I was just like, this is fun. Like, I would get into the bus after a competition, after, we had a meet on ESPN, and I couldn't even scroll past them. I mean, it was crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, they love me. They love me. This goes back to kind of why your identity becomes gymnastics. But that's where all my following came from. And so I think I graduated, and then all of a sudden I'm posting photos of my life and all these crazy achievements in my career. And I'm getting no likes, I'm getting no comments, I'm getting zero engagement, where I'm just coming from a plethora of that. And so it's like, okay, it really, it hurts. It genuinely hurts. And so I always tell people it feels like a part of me died because that's no longer who I am. And it made me realize that a lot, kind of transitioning out and understanding, okay, people actually don't like you as much not being a gymnast, but what else do you represent? And so I had to really, dive internally and figure out who I was. And to answer your question of having support, of course, I mean, I had support in my life of my family loves me, my friends love me, but there wasn't a whole lot of people that related to the situation I was in. And so it's hard to ask for help if no one has an answer, or you do ask for help and they still don't have an answer because it's hard to find people that relate to that situation. So that was definitely really hard. And again, finding that, I guess, praise or approval, validation within yourself, was really difficult. But I mean, I had support, but it's hard to find people again that relate to the situation.
And what it sounds like to me is after, yeah, like a meet on ESPN, so people that don't really know anything else about you, but they know your gymnastics, you were just getting scrolling clicks and proof of validation just from being a gymnast. And then when you actually started posting who you were, I would assume, yeah, I'm not shocked to hear that that hurt, that you almost felt like, oh my gosh, they liked me better just as a gymnast than who I was.
Yeah, and so I think coming off of that too, kind of transitioning into where I am now and in influencing and obtaining deals and doing all that fun stuff, it definitely took a while, but I think understanding that, okay, I do have this platform. What am I going to use it for? There was probably a year or so I didn't post at all. I didn't want to. I didn't want anyone to. No one cares. Why would I post? Like, nothing's gonna come of it. These little gymnasts that follow me aren't gonna care what I'm doing at work or those kinds of things. And so I think there was a point, or a period of that, and then there was a point where I'm like, I get this job in NIL. I'm sitting down with these athletes talking about their brand every day, what that means, what their platform means, how to use it. was really eye-opening for me. I sat there in these meetings with these student athletes and I'm like, wow, like practice what you preach, right, girl? Like, I'm sitting here not posting. I still do have a platform. These people do still follow me. What are we going to do about that? Now that you don't represent gymnastics, that's okay. What else do we? I'm preaching to these student athletes to post about things that aren't just their sport and other things that, you know, they represent, and helping them identify that. How can I do that myself? So that's been a really great part and very rewarding part about my job, is not only being that voice for them, but also to like another version of myself for sure, and just taking my own advice. But it got me, you know, to where I am now, and I'm able to use the platform and post pictures of brand deals, and I don't care if anyone likes it. It's fine.
How
So yeah.
thoughtful. Yeah. That's so special that you are helping people figure out the very same struggles that you had.
Yeah, and I think again that's just coming from a understanding viewpoint. And I think a lot of the current student athletes, they'll never get it. I'm sitting here speaking to them and giving them this advice, and I'm like, it's just one of those things you're not going to get until you graduate. But how can I help prevent, or at least minimize, that feeling that I had when I graduated? Like, how can we get you involved in other things? So it's really special.
I actually just had a thought of, within like eating disorders, a lot of it is like my weight is my worth, my weight is my worth. And to make parallels to like influencers, brands are literally telling you how much you're worth by however they're monetizing off of you. And that intertwine of, oh, well, maybe if I lost weight, maybe they'd pay me more, or I'd get that specific brand deal. And the amount of pressure is on your appearance when you are like collaborating with these brands, and what their image is and how that aligns with yours. That's just got to be monumental.
For sure. And yeah, I think a lot of the content that is being praised, or I guess rewarded, is, you know, these bikini photos or the fitness photos, or especially being an athlete. I feel like those kind of become intertwined. And so, yeah, making that adjustment of, okay, well, now that I'm not an athlete, like I don't want to post in my bikini. I don't look like that anymore. So, you know, people, I don't think people want to see that, but you know, that's obviously not great. You had to work through that for sure. But no, that definitely is, it's a parallel. And I think I've noticed that in what I do. And sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, I'm doing the same thing. I'm receiving validation and equating that to my worth. Let's not do that. So there's definitely parallels. But having that experience already and kind of worked through that in the past couple of years, it's like being able to recognize it and adjust accordingly, is a big part of practice I do every day for sure.
Lex, I love just like your candidness and honesty. And I'm hoping that listeners like can feel kind of seen and heard, because I like that you're not saying, and then I just figured it all out and I love myself and I'm posting all these things. I love that you're just being so real, that you're like, no, I don't feel like I look like I did before. And when you said nobody wants to see this, I just really felt for you, because I just like hear the Lex that has been told you should gain more weight. No, now you should lose more weight. And then it's like, oh, brand deals want muscles, but it's like also the bikini body. You have had to just battle one society, which says all of the above, and there's no attainable body,
Right.
right? And then gymnastics, and then like now the influencing world. I'm really just like one in awe of your resilience. But you know, two, I hope you know that you're just helping a lot of people with your honesty here. It sounds really hard, and it's opening my eyes to even like what's behind your posts.
Oh, thank you. No, that truly means a lot. And that's what I want for others too. I want to provide a space that isn't provided from every single person you may interact with every day. I want to be real and honest, because not everything is sunshine and rainbows. And I think a lot of people who know me really well know that that's real in my life, and my life is very real. But I think if you do see someone, me, on social media, you're like, oh my gosh, she's like so confident. I've heard that so many times in my life. Like, what? You feel this way about yourself? I'm like, yeah, don't you? Like, I'm not this. I mean, I am a confident person, but that doesn't mean I'm, you know, I have a high self-esteem or self-worth. I just know how to fake it really well, but that's also very real, because that's life. So I definitely like, thank you. That means a lot because I do want to provide that space for others to feel like you can just be real right here and I'll meet you exactly where you're at. So thank you.
Yeah, that really just highlights the discrepancy between social media and real life. Like, obviously, there are similarities between who you are on social media and who you are in real life. Um, but when we see influencers, we think, oh, their life is so perfect because they look like that and they get everything that they want. And in reality, like, everyone is going through similar struggles, and it's so important to remember that.
For sure. You just never know what someone's going through. I think I live by that. So if I leave one message here today, that's it. For sure.
And I think
Um,
that that's actually a really cool, like that's what you chose for your message. Based off just who you are, what your history is, what you're currently doing, that you want to say that you don't know like what people are going through. I think that says a lot. Too.
thanks.
And I'm also just something it popped into my head, even though we had pre-discussed this. You were so highly successful as an athlete, constantly told how highly successful you are. I'm still talking about how highly successful you are. If you walked into our old gym, people would say it, right? What
Yeah.
kind of pressure did that create for your expectations of success as an influencer?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, I mean, we all experience this too as, high achieving human beings. If I'm going to do something, I want it to be perfect. And that just, I think, stems from where I came from with the sport of gymnastics, and self identity, or, all those things that come with that. But I think, to be honest, I'm a little messed up. I perceive pressure as a privilege. And that's just what I learned through the sport too. And that's, I think, a big reason as to why I was successful. I think there's a lot of moments where it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to post this. Like I feel a lot of pressure, but it's like, hey, we thrive here. And that's a parallel there. It's like, okay, we don't want to get up on the beam and fall off in front of everyone, but we're gonna do it anyways. So I definitely see the similarities there for sure.
I don't know why this came to my mind. There's a TED talk about like stress, and the saying pressure is a privilege reminded me of that. Like, stress is actually good for us. But it's our relationship towards stress and how we
Ooh, I
manage
like
it,
that.
how we feel it. Yeah. So I guess like when you're managing the stress of being in the spotlight, how do you take care of your body because of the relationship towards stress?
Yeah. I think, mentioning this before, my body reacts to stress in the way I don't have an appetite. I literally can and will throw up at any given point if I'm stressed out. So yeah, but in the back of your mind, you're like, I still have to, stay up to my, nutrition and stay on top of that. And so honestly, I just make it work. I don't sit here and think, oh, I have to finish this meal. It's like, where can we get in nutritional value where we feel okay? Like I can drink a smoothie that has protein in it and it's kind of a meal replacement. That holds me over until my appetite kind of does come back and I'll take a few bites. And I think when I was in school, sitting down with my nutritionist really helped me work through those things because I always just thought, oh, I have to eat my calories, I have to eat my nutrition. But she's like, no, if you can't eat, if you genuinely are looking at that sandwich like I'm going to throw up, grab a smoothie, go get a protein shake. You'll be able to eat. You'll get that appetite back. You just have to build your way back up. So that's kind of how I deal with it now. If I have those days where I'm super stressed out, can't eat, I'll go grab a smoothie. I'll go grab like a granola bar or something just to hold me over to remind my body, hey, we need to warm up to an appetite again. Because we're kind of just like my stomach will shrink into like shrivels. So it's like we kind of gotta have to warm back up. So just snacking throughout the day too during those times is really helpful for me, but just adjusting where I need to.
You just gave the most Lexi Graber answer. You're like, I just make it work.
If
And
I can't eat, I'm gonna find something.
but I love it because it kind of reminds me of like the if there's a will, there's a way. And I think it was in one of our previous podcasts we talked about I think it was on the mic at like your college campus and how like a busy schedule can be like a perfect quote unquote excuse not to eat. And I love
Yeah.
hearing you say, no, if I can't eat and I'm busy, I'm going to drink it for now. And I also like how you said that that can help stimulate your appetite again. And I hear a lot of times in my practice, if people are like, well, I don't want to eat, they're like, I don't want to do anything then. They're like, I'm either having the meal or having nothing. And I love that you are making way for the gray area of not the black and white, eat, don't eat. You're like, let's find gray until we can do the other option. So I really love that you shared that because again, it's just very real.
Yeah, and I was that person though. I was like, well, if I can't eat, I'm just not gonna eat. Stubborn like that. But we
Something
gotta,
about perfectionism, totally.
yeah, for sure. It's either all in or all out. There's no between. But self-love, we gotta take care of ourselves. So that kicks in. It's a main priority to me now. But again, it hasn't always been that way.
I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here. I don't even know what my own answer to this would be. If there was something that you wish you could have heard as a young athlete and or as such a highly successful athlete, what do you think that you wish you could have heard back then?
Gosh. Honestly, it's gonna have to do with, I think, comparison. Um, Probably just finding joy in your own journey, just because, and I think every camp I go to, I preach that to the girls just to instill confidence in them, just because I think every transition you go through in life that you don't even realize you're going through, you're comparing it to something else to try to, maybe see a template of how someone else did this or handled this. You're comparing it to something. And I think where I found the most joy and is not comparing myself. Like, let me find joy in my journey. Um, if I'm stressed out, I'm going to handle it how I need to. I'm not going to compare it to how this person handled it and get upset at myself because I didn't handle it that way. Or if she's doing that skill and I'm not, and I think I should be, it's going to ruin my day. It's going to ruin my week. I had to find ways to stop stealing my own joy. And so I think just finding the joy in your own journey and not, I always say, sorry, this is another one, a little nugget, a little quote, is comparison is the thief of all joy. So if I'm finding joy in my own journey, I can't be comparing myself to others or a version of myself that doesn't exist anymore. I think that's a really hard one to get over, is comparing yourself to an old version of you. And the journey she was on that she's not anymore. So yeah, I think that's my tidbit.
Oh, that was so like eloquently said.
Aw, thanks. I think, yeah, it's important to me because I don't think enough people in life are just real.
And I think I love what you said about comparison because it's easy for us to compare our journeys to others. It's also easy for us to compare other people's journeys to other people's. So again, this is just like triggering memories for me. I actually remember, I think we had maybe just met or become like closer. And I think I actually was like guilty of this because I remember being like, why aren't you doing elite? And for those who aren't listening, elite is like another it's like kind of there's junior Olympic and then elite. It's just a different level. But I remember you were like, I don't want to do elite. And I was so confused because I was like, this girl is so good. But I remember actually like, and then it's almost like I think I gave you like a weird look. And I remember other coaches being like, yeah, she won't do it. So when you actually tried not to compare yourself and be like, this girl that's as good as me is doing elite, I'm not. You actually tried to do your own journey. People actually like gave you a hard time for that.
Oh my gosh, for sure. I mean, even in college, you get to college, and I'm at the University of Alabama, one of the most prestigious, successful programs, and I'm surrounded by people that did go elite and train for the Olympics and were on the route to go to the Olympics. I'm sitting here, even know what you guys are talking about. I don't have any of that. I didn't have the technical training per se. My gymnastics didn't look the same. So then I started comparing myself, and becoming insecure that I didn't do that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done something different when I was growing up, and I should have tried harder, and I should have gone elite. So it's crazy how I was so content with that. And then you get to, where you want to go. And then you're like, oh, well, I didn't prepare for this well enough.
Like
So
this like triggered a memory that I had, not related to athletics, but related to like academia. So when I was applying to like postdoctoral fellowships, me and this girl applied to like an Ivy League postdoc, and we both got it. And I really didn't want to go, like at all. I would have to move across the country again. I would have to leave my partner. It did not fit into my life at that time. And she turned it down first. And I had this wave of relief that gave me the permission to turn it down because I saw someone else say, hey, this just because it's in the spotlight, it's an Ivy League, doesn't mean you have to take it, doesn't mean it's something you have to do. And like seeing someone walk that walk and say, this doesn't fit into my life, even though everyone thinks I should want it, was so freeing for me. And it changed the trajectory of my life to allow me to start making choices that actually were best for me and not because the spotlight told me I needed to do it.
Yeah, I love that. And finding the confidence in, no, this is my journey. I'm gonna stand on that. Doesn't matter what pressures come, but I love that. That's awesome.
And I think when you actually make a decision for yourself and not because society told you to, that's when you're going to stand by it and feel that confidence. And Lex, what you're saying actually reminds me a lot of like eating disorder pathology. So, you're saying like, okay, well, I went to college, but now I'm like, oh, but I didn't do elite. And then I work with some gymnasts that are like, oh, I did high school, but then I couldn't go to college. And then there are some girls that I went to college, but I went D3. Like there's all these comparisons that I wish I could have done this. And it reminds me so much of eating disorder pathology because I also hear, oh, but I never got to this weight, or oh, but I never got to this level of care. And I don't know why this kind of poetically just came into my brain of just like if people are just making a choice for themselves and not because somebody else said they should, that's where the confidence comes from. Otherwise, you're absolutely right. Comparison's the thief of all joy. But I'm really glad you're sharing, Lex, because and also Dr. Zoe, because here you are talking about turning down an Ivy League, and some people like for a good reason. And some people are like, oh, I didn't get the opportunity for this. I would have done this. You have no idea what you'd do in those shoes.
Right.
And Lex kind of, she's a national champion. I don't really know what else you can do. And she's like, but I could have done more. And I think it just shows if we're going to lean into that perfectionistic quality, it has very little to do with our reality.
Yeah.
We really have to be exploring like what are the rules that we're following? Who created them for us? Like how are they benefiting us? Yes, we're told that we should go elite, we should go to the Ivy Leagues, we should become the best of everything we can, but like who actually is benefiting from that? And I know that's not really aligned with like on the mic with the spotlight, but I think it also goes to like influencer culture of influencers do tell us to do things. So if you are a consumer of that, just check in with yourself. Like, does this actually benefit me? Maybe it does. Great, amazing. But if not, it's totally okay to reject that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard part about being an influencer and being in the spotlight is, and also kind of being on the other end of it and understanding those pressures so highly is you don't want to portray to these people who you care so much about, you don't want them to feel that way. So I don't want to project anything or put anything out there that you feel like you have to do, you know? And so that is a very fine line, and kind of a scary thing about it is you want to make sure that, okay, yes, these are the best parts of my life, but you're also on your own journey. I don't want to distort that and make you think that you need to live the same way as I do. So I think that's a really fine line and hard boundary for influencers to create.
This is also putting you on the spot, but do you feel like you've ever put something out there because you felt like you should or have to, for whatever reason, whether it's you want followers to be engaged or you want them to feel seen? Do you ever posted something that you're like, wow, if I didn't have this following, I never would have put this out there?
For sure. Yeah. A lot of the time, to be honest. Um, but I think when you're in it, and I think you guys could relate to this in a different sense, but it's like it's just what comes with it. And it's like, yeah, I have this, I have to use it somehow. But I would be so much more, and maybe I will. Maybe this is gonna inspire me to be like, bring back casual Instagram, like whatever filter you want, girl. No, oh my gosh, I used to, guys, to be so candid. I used to edit the heck out of my photos. I mean, I would go in there with anything, Facetune, anything you can imagine, any app. I would spend hours of my night editing myself because I didn't feel like I looked like the other girlies. So I would spend my nights doing that. And it's crazy. I don't do that anymore to myself, but I think I still have moments where I put out something that is a highlight of my life, where as if I wasn't an influencer, I'd just be living it. I wouldn't really be posting it. but I feel like I have to let people in.
Yeah, my mom is a micro influencer of sorts. Like she's very big in the field that she's in, and she has tens of thousands of followers. And she'll tell me that she has like a social media persona and her real persona, and it's almost like a way to protect yourself, or protect herself. And is that something that you've noticed? It sounds like you have a lot of intersection, like you are yourself online, and that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, no, I love what you just said because I actually had that kind of coming to Jesus moment the other day of I do a lot of things to protect myself, and social media is one of those things because you can genuinely represent anything you want. If I want to be a fitness influencer, all I have to do is go in the gym and post some photos. That's who I am. Post some content of what workouts I'm doing. They don't have to see the real me. They don't have to see what I do outside of that. Um, so for sure, it's a way of protecting yourself. And I think I do catch myself intentionally doing things to portray what I'm supposed to, rather than like, no, I just feel like posting this. Let's just do that. um, and I see that a lot in my job too, to be so honest. I think these, athletes that I work with, again, have a platform, are most, micro influencers. A lot of the, football, basketball, all those things are very highly followed, and they don't want to post certain things because it doesn't look good. And it makes me a little bit sad. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it. I'd do the same thing, but I feel terrible that this exists. I wish we like, didn't have that. So I just always encourage them. I'm like, just post it, press send, get it out of the drafts. Who's gonna care? But I do the same thing. So it's real.
We have a documentary coming out about eating disorders and like the generational aspects of it. And my both of us are so scared. And granted, she has a much bigger following and much bigger impact when her story comes out. And we've been talking about, okay, what are the implications of you being honest and authentic to this giant community? And it's scary, and it does open you up to a lot of criticism and people making comments about something that is so intimate to you. And that is really scary.
Sure, I see it. I think the biggest fear comes from it happening to other people. You'll be scrolling and going through the comments, and all I can think about sometimes is, gosh, I don't know what I would do if that was me. I don't ever want that to happen. So it's a really scary place because once you press send and once you post, there's judgment happening, there's opinions being formed, anything's happening. So it's a very scary world.
I just had this moment. This is why I'm chuckling when I realized Zoe and we've talked about it before, have like this like post-pod anxiety. Like, do you think what I said there was okay or whatever it is? And I'm sitting here thinking we're so nervous for our very small amount of followers.
I am so proud of our 300 people, Maria.
I'm so proud of this. But I just can't even imagine. Something just hit me where I was like, oh my gosh, we're this nervous. And it's like basically ourselves sending back the photo, being like, I posted this. I cannot imagine. I just had this moment where I was like, I cannot imagine the pressure that you must be under. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being honest about the editing of the photos. Thank you, because I don't think people realize how common that is. And I'm just like really in awe of like your honesty about it, because it is so common, whether people want to admit it or not. And I just love that because now, people know like, hey, even Lexi Graber didn't like love herself all the time and felt this pressure.
Sure. Yeah, and I think I'll tell you in person. I'm like, I probably don't look like what I do on Instagram. This is me, and I've come to love that. But it's crazy how comfortable I've came to be in my own skin. Very, very new to it, to be honest. But I still can't post a photo unedited, no filter, nothing. I'm like, that still exists in me. And I'm kind of just taking it as, okay, I love who I am in real life, but again, it's a persona. Like, this is just who I have to be. I got to edit those photos. And gosh, no, it's so not healthy, but it exists and it's okay. Like we can still love ourselves and do these things and be amazing and be great and throw a filter on a photo. It's okay. I'm not here to, if you want to give yourself a bigger booty, girl, go ahead. Go ahead. Because you know what? Same. right there with you. Like whatever makes you feel good. Whatever makes you feel good.
You know, I love that we have you on the pod today because the eating disorder therapist in us are like, don't edit your body, like post it. And I actually love how you're like, if you want to edit it, edit it. And I'm going to take that into my practice, I think.
You know what? I was thinking, continue.
I know as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, it's so not healthy. It's not. It's not like you shouldn't feel like you need to. But I don't know. I just, again, I see a world where it's like, if that's what makes me feel good on my Instagram, I feel good on Instagram. And I also feel good in real life. I just feel good.
The way
So
I
to me, that's like, okay. Um, the premise of it, obviously not great that you feel like you had to do that. But I think that's just society today. Like it's kind of just forcing everyone to do that. So I think the less we kind of just hide behind that and just be more candid about it, I kind of think it'll reverse it and people will just stop like, okay, why do I care to edit it if everyone else is? I want to be different. I don't know. But that's how I've kind of worked through it though.
That is incredible. The way I see it is we edit ourselves all the time, just in different ways. Like I whitened my teeth so much that they were so sensitive before my bachelorette. Like we are making appearance changes all of the time. Let's just be honest about it. Like, all right, I got a boob job. Well, I personally did not. However, I've gotten Botox. I can't
Yeah.
eyebrow. Like it's okay. Let's just talk about it and be honest. And that'll be so freeing for people. And then maybe, hopefully, we feel like we don't have to do that in the future.
Right. Yeah. It's just coming to love a version of yourself and understanding kind of where it comes from, why you're thinking that way, why you're feeling that way, just moving through it rather than trying to stay away from it.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up today? This was so fun.
Thanks. No, I'm just thank you guys for having me and allowing me to tell my story. I know it's unique in the sense it's like you don't see it every day or hear it every day. Um, so thank you for providing that space. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, Lex, we are incredibly grateful for your voice. And I hope that young gymnasts, young influencers, or just people alike can learn something from this or just feel validated. After knowing you for quite some time, I feel like I learned a lot today, which is really, really cool. So I'm very, very just kind of proud of who you are and grateful that we could do a collaboration like this. And it's not because you're an awesome gymnast, it's because you've just been an awesome human in my life. And I'm very grateful that so many people get to hear your voice today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and everything you've done. You've been a big part of my life, literally. So definitely wouldn't be here without you. And Zoe, thank you for being so awesome. I can't wait to maybe do this again. But
Maybe.
yes, also, if anyone ever feels a certain way or you have any question, thought, anything that you don't ever want to put out in the open, consider me your open space. No question's a bad question, and I'm here. It's a safe space.
Thank you so much for being that for our community and the community that you have. We want to give one last thank you to our advertiser, Alsana. Alsana is an eating disorder treatment center with locations in Alabama and California, and they offer an IOP that is virtual for teenagers. So thank you again. This was incredible, and I know will be so. It's such a different tone that we have, and it's a needed tone. So wherever you are, whoever you are, come take a seat with us.